All right, welcome everyone. This is a special edition of the Camp Trillium podcast today. I'm joined with kind of Camp Trillium royalty today. None other than the author, writer, everything involving the Goodnight Song that you love and know, Gregg Lawless. Hello, Gregg. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Excellent. So, we brought you here today. You're here doing some stuff for Trillium TV, which people have already heard about.
Yeah.
And I thought while we had you here, this is a perfect opportunity for everyone to hear kind of everything about the Goodnight Song. I've been coming to camp for many years, 20 plus, and all I know is that as a camper, we used to just do normal kind of like regular run-of-the-mill camp songs to end the night. It was a different one every night. Then all of a sudden, one day, it just changed. And the Goodnight Song was here, and it's been a staple for every single campfire as long as I can remember now. Going way back, all the times as a staff, and
yeah,
we're here to find out kind of where it all began. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you, Gregg. How you got started with Trillium and
I'm going to go back 1 second before that and say one neat connection that we have with the Goodnight Song and the history of that is that the first year that you were a camper was the year that I wrote the song. And here we are a few years later talking about it. So you've known it as an 8-year-old and now as a man, so and going through your life. So that's kind of it's at the risk of sounding cliched, it's an honor to know someone who's known it in many different ways, as a camper, as a CIT, as a counselor, as an adult. So that's a really cool thing, yeah. So what was the question anyway?
How did you get started with Camp Trillium?
Well, I had always wanted to play music full time, and when I finished my degree from OuR, I moved to Toronto. And I hadn't forgotten that one of my good friends that I played music with at OuR, Diana Tragana, had worked at Camp Trillium. And she said, you know, at some point, Gregg, I think that would be a really great fit for you, because we'd shared some stories about why we'd want to work at such a camp. And so it's funny that the first summer when people say, why did you end up working there finally? And for me, it was later. I was a lot older than most of the counselors. It's for a kind of strange reason, but it makes sense. And that is that I'd been living as an independent musician for quite a few years and just barely scraping by. And the first year that I wrote some songs under a pseudonym, which is Gregg Lawless. I wrote these songs in French that were used for a textbook for a publishing company putting out a French textbook across Canada. I got my first really big royalty check. And my reaction to that was, wow, this is enough money that I could work somewhere in the summer and not worry about making any money. I'm going to go work at Camp Trillium now. So that's actually my first musical success, rather than saying, wow, I want to go make a record, was great. Now I have enough money to go do that job that I always wanted to do. So that's how I ended up here. And that was back in the golden age of rock and roll, 1995. And I was here full-time in 95. I did a lot of volunteering from 96 to 99. And it was in 99 that my eldest son was born. So at that point, I had to step back a bit. But I'm honored that I still get called once in a while to play at fundraisers and different concerts and play the Goodnight Song.
Nice. Well, those years that you were involved out here were my core years of being here. I started in 92, and then my res camp years were from 95 to 99.
Right.
So kind of, we kind of have a very similar history with the island as far as timeline goes. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, what we're all dying to know is how did this song come to be?
Drum roll, please. Now you have more than 30 seconds because it's not a short story. Well, the great thing is, in retrospect, is to think that this song that's, you know, if someone's watching this podcasts and they don't know much about Camp Trillium, they might really think, well, why are you devoting a program to talking about this song? And as you know, to families and campers and staff who've been affiliated with Camp Trillium, it's a really big deal for a bunch of reasons. A lot of it is where it's placed. It's at the end of every night before kids go to bed, and so it's the last thing they hear every night. And then kids during the year, if they have one of my CDs, can listen to it year-round. And I've been contacted by lots of people that when their kids are in treatment or in the hospital, they want to listen to the song when they're there. So it's kind of funny to me that it's a song that was never intended to be a song to be played for the entire camp. It was never intended to be a camp song, and it was written very, very quickly. And I've read a lot of articles by some of my, or covering some of my favorite songwriters, whether it's Paul McCartney or whoever it is, talking about songs that they're almost embarrassed to say how quickly they're written, because they're songs that people have come to really, that they've meant a lot to people over the years, and they say, well, you know, I woke up from a dream and wrote down a title and got up the next morning and wrote it in 20 minutes. Well, in my particular case, and this is why I asked if I could have more than 30 seconds, so forgive me. It's 1995, and there's a tradition of singing the song every night. Singing a song every night that's going to be the last song of the night. And at this time, the song's never been written, and sometimes people want Cats in the Cradle, or they want Heart of Gold, or whatever it might be. And after that, campers will come and lobby me at the end of campfire and say, hey, can you come over to our campfire and play one more song for us? And so I would do that, and I'd go over and they'd say, can you play something by, you know, the Tragically Hip or whoever it is, and I'll play a quiet little song by, you know, even the Tragically Hip have quiet songs. One night, girls that are in cabin 5 come and say to me, you know, you've been to all the cabins and you've even been to cabin 2 twice and you haven't come to play a song for us. Will you come and play for us tonight? And I said, absolutely. And they said, you promise? I said, I absolutely promise. So 15 minutes later, there's a bit of a medical emergency, and I'm pulled away from camp until about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. By this time, those girls are fast asleep, and I've broken my promise. And the next morning, they come up to me very disappointed and say, you told us, you gave us your word that you were going to come and sing a song for us last night, and we can't believe you didn't come. And they were really quite angry. It wasn't a joke to them. And so I apologized, and I said, listen, I'll do anything you want to make it up for you guys. And I'm thinking that they're going to say, well, okay, you're going to have to dress up as a dog and wear a dress all day, or something, you know, a camp type thing, and I'm ready for anything. Or you're going to have to, you know, wear a macaroni hat all day. And so they say, okay, well, you have to come to our cabin tonight, and you have to write a song for us today and play it for us. And I thought, okay, that's reasonable. And so I said, I'm going to commit to doing that for you guys. So at lunchtime, I've got all my group of kids around. I'm thinking, when am I going to have time to do this? I've got no time. So I eat my lunch as fast as I can, and I go to the disabled bathroom, which I knew no one was using that week, and I sneak in there with a piece of paper and my guitar, and I write a song as fast as I can that's a lullaby. And I don't think about it too hard, but I think, here's a song that I'll write for these girls so they'll have an easy time falling asleep. So I played it for them that night, and they really, really liked it. And I thought, I've succeeded, that's great. And I felt like that was a big success. The next night at campfire, all the girls from cabin 5 said, hey, Greg, why don't you play the Goodnight Song? And I said, oh, well, you know, I don't know the lyrics by heart or anything, and no one else knows it. And they said, well, you know, you got to play it. And they say, Greg wrote a song for us. And I said, well, I'll go get the lyrics if you guys will sing the chorus. And I teach everybody the chorus, and we sing it. And I thought, isn't this fantastic? I've been able to play the song 2 times. That's a big success. And the next night, last song of the night, you know, okay, everybody, time for last song. What do you want to hear? And a bunch of kids yell out, play the Goodnight Song again. And that's pretty much what happened. Every night it was play the Goodnight Song, and then it became the camp song. So it was really a happy accident. And I think that sometimes the greatest things in life happen when you're not trying too hard. And I wasn't trying to write a song that kids would sing every night and that would have a lasting effect and a deep impact on people, but I was writing it from the heart. And sometimes when you write a song from the heart as fast as you can, and when I lead songwriting workshops, I'm always telling people this, you get your best stuff without thinking too hard. And I think that's what happened, is I brought a lot of my life experience without thinking too hard, and how I'd been affected by illnesses like this, and I brought it to that song and tried to write a comforting lullaby without thinking too hard, and The rest is Camp Trillium history, if not world history.
It's exactly how you say that. Coming from the heart, it's definitely what you did and what shows. I think that's kind of what sticks. Because if you ask many people kind of what traditions are there at Camp Trillium, the first thing that comes out of everyone's mouth is the Goodnight Song.
Right.
And the number of requests that I get, our year-round staff get, do you know the chords to the Goodnight Song? What can we
Right.
get our hands on the lyrics? Where can we get a CD? We keep CDs stocked here all the time, and
Right.
you wouldn't believe they're usually going out the door every single summer.
Yeah.
And it's terrific, and it's the reason why kids start to play the guitar.
That's really rewarding to hear that, yeah.
Just so they can learn how to play the song. It's usually the first song that a lot of kids around here actually learn how to play on the guitar. It's something that you don't see very many places. What is it that you think that through the years has made this song really connect with the campers and the families around here?
Well, it's a song that again, and I wasn't thinking too hard when I wrote it, but that the core idea is that we're all here to be positive and to comfort each other, and that we're all here as a family. And the person who's singing the song, I mean, it's written in the first person, but it's not necessarily for me, it's for anyone who's singing it, is, not just wishing, in the grand sense, a good night to you. It's really about taking care of you. And the lyrics are about, if you need someone to lean on, I'm going to be here for you. And most of the sentiments have been expressed in other songs, like Lean on Me, Bill Withers, or whatever. But it's a different song. Like it's relatively straightforward, except for when guitar players find out, oh, I need to learn how to play a B minor bar chord. But it's universal. It's simple. But sometimes the deepest sentiments are simple sentiments. So.
And it's something that people haven't heard elsewhere. It's kind of a song that was started here, and I think that as well just brings so much more meaning towards it, and for people here, a little sense of ownership to everyone who comes to this camp, really, right?
I have to tell you, I'm just thinking now as we're sitting here at camp, and all these memories come back to me everywhere I look. I've got so many great memories. And one of them was that several years after I'd written it, so I'm thinking this was probably in about 1999. So it started off that I'd, full time, and then I was coming back, for like a couple of weeks each summer, and then it became less as, when my eldest son was. So it got to the point where I didn't know that many campers. Originally, I kind of knew everybody, and then by the end, I didn't know tons of people. So the last year that I was here, volunteering, I arrive, and it's in the middle of a camp, and some kid that I know comes up to me and with another kid and says, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And the kid goes, "No." And he says, "Oh, he's wicked, and he wrote the Goodnight Song." And this kid goes, "Get out of here." And just walks away like, "Get out." Right, as if he wrote the Goodnight Song. I thought that was pretty funny. So that night at campfire, I sing the Goodnight Song without an intro. I'm just playing a bunch of songs, and I go, "Okay, guys, I think it's time for the last song, so I'm going to sing the Goodnight Song." And I guess, some kids knew that I wrote it and some didn't. So this kid that I've never spoken to, young kid, but an 8-year-old, walks up to me from cabin 2 when I'm finished. And he says, "Hey, man." I go, "Hey, buddy, how are you doing?" He goes, "You're pretty good on the guitar, and you play the Goodnight Song pretty well, but you're not nearly as good as the guy on the CD." I just left it. I said, "Thanks."
It's always different when you hear it in person.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, speaking of which, this isn't just a fancy prop. I'm told this is the guitar.
This is the one, yeah, and I just brought it up today. I didn't clean it up too much, but I had a friend throw some lacquer on it so it would keep for a while, and I'm going to leave it up here. But this is the guitar that in 1995 I'd be dragging around everywhere. I will not that gently pick it up because I never treated it that gently. It was given to me by a friend who found it in the dump, and it has a hole in it. And it's an old Epiphone Gibson guitar, and a guy brought it home and said, "Hey, I found this in the dump today. Is this guitar any good?" And I said, "Yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe I'll bring it to camp with me." So I brought it to camp, and some of my campers kidnapped it one day, and then they painted it and they signed it. So it looks pretty much like it did in Trillium 1995, and I also brought along my really beautiful air-conditioned Camp Trillium hat, which I wore for all the time that I was here and wore around Africa and Ireland when I was traveling. And I think that this should probably retire with the guitar. So I thought I should leave it here where, people will at least ask what it's all about, and then maybe we'll find out, well, that's the Camp Trillium Goodnight Song guitar.
Well, it's definitely a great piece of history, camp history, and so many questions are going to come from this, and so many people are just going to be able to, I think, connect with this. There's some very familiar names on there for me. A lot of people I went to camp with as a camper. I even see there's some people who were in my sister's wedding party, I think.
That's great,
And it's really cool, and I know having that now, kind of back home where it all started, is really gonna
That's
be a
cool.
nice touch around here.
But I have to tell you, Ian, you're going to have to tell people if it's hanging somewhere, they can't play it because the guitar is tuned down so that the strings are just barely on, because it's so old now that if you tune it up to pitch, the neck will snap off it. So it's retired.
I'm pretty sure, as the historical piece it is, I don't think anyone's going to want to do anything but look at it.
There we go.
From here on in, but there people have it. That's the story behind the Goodnight Song and everything involved. Thanks for coming out, Greg. It's
great pleasure. Really a pleasure. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Thanks for coming out.